WWE 2K24 has been out for 4 months now, and honestly, it's kinda dead. I'm not saying that you can't have fun on the game, because you can, and I personally really enjoy playing my eFed, but I just feel like the game's lacking something. The biggest issue to me is that you could load up WWE 2K22 or 2K23 and not really notice much difference. Now, that's not necessarily totally a bad thing, because in my opinion, the gameplay is pretty solid. But in other aspects, such as the game modes, the game just feels too stale and similar. Biggest selling points of 2K24 were the 40 years of WrestleMania mode, the updated graphics, and the new match types. All sounds good, right? Well, not really. For starters, the 40 years of WrestleMania mode was very lackluster and felt just as soulless as all the previous showcase modes. The new match types were just features that we had in old games that were taken away for no reason. And the updated features and graphics, such as the ability to use double title matches in Universe mode, were just features that we should have had as a bare minimum anyway. The truth is, graphics aside, the franchise hasn't really progressed much since the game was bought by 2K back in 2013. And yes, nostalgia does play a part in what I've just said, but do not be fooled by 2K's marketing. These so-called new features are just things that we had stripped away for us in the past for no reason. Take the match types, for example. Back in the good old days, we had ambulance matches, casket matches, special guest referee matches, and then for no apparent reason, 2K removed them. And all these years later, they re-add them and brand them as new revolutionary features. I mean, what happened to Buried Alive and Inferno matches? No doubt they'll bring them back in the next few years and promote them as new groundbreaking additions to the game. It's just not good enough. But enough mourning from me, because I want to suggest how 2K can solve their problems and save the WWE 2K franchise. To start with, I think that 2K should add more match types, such as the Inferno, I Quit, and Buried Alive matches. Trust me, I realise how hypocritical that sounds given what I've just been saying about them bringing back old features and branding them as new. But hey, don't hate a man for wanting more match types. The addition of more match types will make the game feel less repetitive. Another thing that I don't really hear people talking about is the fact that 2K removed squash matches. Now, in my opinion, when I play on Legendary difficulty, every single match goes on for far too long. It's 2 finishes and the AI is still kicking out. So in my opinion, it would be a lot better if they did bring back the occasional surprise squash match. More gameplay additions could be double stack tables and the addition of more weapons such as thumbtacks. As I mentioned previously, the 2K24 gameplay is actually pretty good, so I think that the biggest changes are needed in other departments. For instance, the game modes. Let's start with the absolute shit show that is My Faction. Who even plays this mode? Not me. My Faction is 2K's pathetic attempt at replicating EA Sports' Ultimate Team. In other words, it's 2K's attempt at squeezing as much money out of their consumers as possible. The easy solution would be for me to just say for 2K to get rid of the game mode entirely. But given the serious potential financial gain, I highly doubt 2K are going to do that anytime soon. Instead, I propose that they should come up with a game mode similar to EA Sports' Foot Champions mode inside of My Faction. A mode that is so competitive that it drives people to the store to put on points to get better wrestlers to then go and compete in the highly competitive mode that would mirror EA Sports' Foot Champions. Hey, I do not want that either. I know what you think, and that sounds terrible. But in terms of 2K trying to make more money, I think that's what they need to do with My Faction. But I'm going to stop there. I don't want to give 2K any ideas. I don't want us players having to spend any more money on the game. Let's move on swiftly over to My Rise, which is 2K's version of a story mode. For me, My Rise is a tough one. 2K proved that the mode can be successful in WWE 2K22, but the past 2 years, the mode has been extremely boring. The storylines are bland, and it just feels like a copy and paste of previous year's stories. In my opinion, 2K should scrap the mode entirely and replace it with the return of Road to WrestleMania. The last time we saw Road to WrestleMania mode in a WWE game was back in WWE 12. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys will remember those crazy storylines where WCW came back and it was the Monday Night War Part 2. The other storyline where Sheamus won every single belt in WWE. That was absolutely crazy, outlandish, unrealistic, but absolutely entertaining. And overall, I felt like every single installment of Road to WrestleMania was far more interesting than the current My Rise stories that we are being given. The fact that you could choose between 5 to 6 in real life wrestlers as opposed to the current 2 creator wrestlers, to me just made it that much better. For example, imagine if in 2K25 we got to play the road to WrestleMania from the point of view of a Drew McIntyre, a Dominic Mysterio, a Roman Reigns, a Rhea Ripley, the list goes on. There is so many superstars in WWE in 2024 that could have an exciting, entertaining, interesting storyline in Road to WrestleMania. And to me, that would be far better than just creating your same old wrestler that you do every year and it being a copy and paste of the previous year's My Rise. I just think that it lets 2K get far more creative when it's real life wrestlers because we all know their personalities, we all know what they're like on screen, so they don't need to make it generic. That may be a controversial take, as some people do like My Rise, but please do let me know in the comments, do you prefer My Rise or are you in the same boat as me and want to see the return of Road to WrestleMania? In the intro of this video, I briefly spoke about the 40 years of WrestleMania mode, but now I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into the problems that are deeply rooted with Showcase mode. The marketing going into this year's game for this 40 years of WrestleMania mode was absolutely crazy. And in 2K14, do you remember, we got 30 years of WrestleMania, and that was actually very, very successful for 2K. Due to this incredible marketing, I had very high expectations going into the game. I loaded it up on day one, went to the first game, which I believe was Hogan versus Andre, I could be wrong there, and I was so disappointed. For starters, there wasn't even 40 matches in the mode, and every single WrestleMania wasn't even represented. So straight off the bat, it was false marketing. There was not really 40 years of WrestleMania. Now, I cannot speak for the rest of the mode because after the third match, which was Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship, I just decided to stop playing it and didn't even finish the rest. The mode was so dry, so bland, so soulless, it didn't have any character whatsoever. To me, this has been a problem since 2K22 with the Rey Mysterio Showcase mode. You were just shackled by all the tedious objectives that you have to do. You're literally just recreating moments that happened in real life. There's no creativity, there's no uniqueness, it's just completely bland. 2K did mix it up slightly in 2K23 with the John Cena Showcase mode, as in that one you did play as John Cena's opponents as opposed to John Cena. This was a nice change, but once again, I did not enjoy the mode and it did feel just tedious and repetitive. Alongside all the tedious objectives that shackle you, the lack of commentary is noticeable. The fact that you're hitting all these awesome moves and all these awesome things are happening, but there's no commentary over it, there's no Michael Cole in your ear, there's no Vince McMahon for WrestleMania 3, no Jerry Lawler for WrestleMania 10, it really does hurt the mode in my opinion. And honestly, I don't really know how 2K can fix Showcase mode. I personally would not be upset if the mode wasn't featured in 2K25, but I do think it will be, and I do think we'll get a Bray Wyatt Showcase mode, which will be nice, but something that does concern me about that is the fact that the likes of Jeff Hardy and other icons of Bray Wyatt's past are not signed with the WWE, so we'll have the rights to use them in the mode. But either way, if the Bray Wyatt Showcase is anything like this year's, I will not be interested at all. As far as my GM goes, I don't really have much to say. The mode is fine, but I can take it or leave it. An expansion of the mode could be beneficial, and in my opinion, they should implement the draft system of my GM, which I do really like, and put that into Universe mode. Because if you know, trying to do a draft in Universe mode is so boring because you have to go in and manually change everything, so that draft system could really help in my opinion. Once again, I'm going to sound very hypocritical, because I'm going to have to concede the fact that one of the best improvements that could happen to Universe mode is the re-adding of old features that were stripped from the game. One of these features is promos. Why on earth did 2K remove promos from Universe mode? Nevertheless, I do think that promos would give Universe mode that much more personality and character that it so desperately needs. Another outlandish idea from me is to bring back the old creator story mode and implement that into Universe mode. I think that could be so helpful if you could go onto community creations and download other people's stories that they've used. That could be crazy, but maybe something that would put them off doing that. Similarly to when you could create your own entrance themes and people were abusing it by using the likes of Chris Benoit's themes. People were getting banned left, right, and centre. And with the storylines, I can imagine people going, let's just say, a bit beyond the PG limit. I can already imagine some of the stories that people would come up with the likes of Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley. I don't even want to think about that. The expansion of rival reactions this year, in my opinion, was a great help. And I think 2K should continue with that by adding a lot more next year. For example, a Money in the Bank cash in. This year, there's only 2 or 3 options for a cash in, so why not have 5 or 6 next year? So it makes it a lot more unique and a lot more creative when cashing in the briefcase. And also, why can't you use rival reactions on a pay per view? So what if I want to low blow someone on pay per view or cash in my Money in the Bank briefcase? It happens in real life. I've not got a lot to complain about by way of Universe mode, as it is my personal favourite mode in the game, and I do think the few tweaks that I've mentioned could make it even better. A few other things to note are that the next installment of the game really should have cross-platform in order to compete with other franchises such as Call of Duty, Fortnite, FIFA. And as we all continuously cry out for, please fix your servers 2K. When you try and play online compared to any other game like I've just mentioned, you lag so much, you disconnect all the time, and it is so annoying. Improvements to the community creation suite would also help too. I think that's everything. I think I've got everything off my chest that I wanted to say about the next upcoming installment of the 2K series. As you can gather, there's a lot of things that 2K need to improve on, but it's not all negative. I am being harsh, but I do think that 2K does need somebody in the ear, somebody giving them options. It's just constructive criticism from me. I want to help them improve the game as I am a big fan of the franchise myself. I've tried to note as many as I can think of, but I've probably missed plenty of improvements that the game could have. So please do let me know in the comments any you can think of. What did you think of the ones that I gave? And I'm afraid I've got some bad news. This video is about to end. See ya.